So recently, a Christian pastor has made headlines. Tony Spell, who is the pastor of Life Tabernacle Church in central Louisiana. If you haven't heard, he was recorded, it was caught on camera, him actually beating a man to the ground. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play the news segment in which he speaks his piece and addresses why he actually did what he did. And then I'm going to go ahead and give my take and why I agree with what he actually did. So let's go ahead and listen to the pastor from his own mouth regarding the situation.
Take this opportunity to thank the media, this great host of friends and church members for coming out today and showing their support and standing in solidarity with us. I'm going to give you a statement of the events that occurred on yesterday, June the 23rd, 2026. At approximately 9 a.m., I'm out on the church parking lot. There I'm working on one of our Sunday school buses. We have a large bus fleet. We have several people that do maintenance on our buses. I was swapping out the batteries on bus number 48. By that, you have dead batteries. I'm putting new batteries on the bus. So while I'm working on our bus fleet, the individual across the street, one of the men across the street, is walking up and down the shoulder parallel with the bus, which is about 100 yards to my south right now, or 100 yards to my east. And while this individual is walking up and down the shoulder of the road, he's shouting vulgarities, profanities, and very nasty words towards my person, toward myself. And while I'm working on this particular bus, he said, "Tony," I'm quoting him, he said, "Tony, I'm going to rape your wife. I'm going to rape all of your grandchildren." And he said, "The next time you go out of town, I'm going to kill them. And what the F are you going to do about it?" End quote. This has gone on for years now. Behind me are several witnesses who can attest to what was said. They have video. They have made numerous complaints to the police and the sheriff's department. Our church represents 27 nationalities. Every nationality that comes to this church comes for a safe place of refuge, a place of worship. Many recovering addicts who come for a place of worship. They are constantly stalked by these individuals across the street. They are constantly intimidated with threats of bodily harm. There's not a person that's come to this church that's standing behind me in this meeting today who hasn't been called the racial slurs of the N-word. Their children have been screamed and shouted with vulgarities. As a shepherd, I have not allowed the sheep to attack the wolves for what was said to them. I've given you a complete and true statement of what happened yesterday. I can't allow a man to rape my wife. I can't allow a man to rape my grandchildren. I will not allow a man to murder my children when I'm gone. The next time you leave, I'm going to kill your family. What the F are you going to do about it?
So to give my personal opinion as a Christian who's been saved now for 15 years, I got saved back in 2012. I believe what the pastor did was appropriate and it was correct. Here's the problem with today's generation. Okay, we live in a society where cowardice is just running rampant. And the world tends to look at the church as though we are supposed to be just this pincushion. It's just, we're supposed to just allow you to be able to do whatever you want to do to us because we are the people of God. Now, in regards to self-defense, okay, now the Bible has no real all-encompassing statements on self-defense in general, okay? But For the most part, the Bible is more pacifistic in regards to turning the other cheek. You know, you got Proverbs 25, Matthew 5. There are passages that, for the most part, don't really go in depth in regards to self-defense, but the Bible is not against self-defense. And when it comes to self-defense as a Christian, it's all about wisdom. Okay. We have to use wisdom. Now, me being a man, okay, there are circumstances, situations as a Christian where I will allow someone to disrespect me. I will allow another man to call me names, racial slurs, maybe even put hands on me. Okay. And I will, because of, let's say I'm at an abortion clinic. I'm standing out front holding a sign or preaching the gospel, or I'm at a downtown at a basketball event and I'm preaching a gospel as people are going into the stadium. Okay. Those are situations where wisdom would tell me I need to make sure that I'm standing firm for Christ and being gracious to people that are acting demonically. Okay. I think that is an appropriate situation where a man can allow another man or a woman to be disrespectful and even possibly physical. Okay. Now, when it comes to, and again, I've been a Christian for 15 years, but when it comes to the safety of my brethren, a sister or brother in the Lord, or my wife, you will not harm them. Okay. If I'm around, you will not harm them. Okay. If a man attempted to harm my wife, I would get extremely violent. So much so that you probably would say that man's not even a Christian. Okay. I do not play about the protection of my loved ones. Okay. So a man walked up to the pastor and said, I'm going to rape your wife and I'm going to rape your grandchildren. So not only is he talking about raping a woman, but he's talking about raping children. This man is a demon. Okay. There's a debate amongst Christians in regards to home self-defense, home protection, you know, Christians owning firearms and what they would do if an intruder happened to attempt to break into their home. Now, I've heard from men like John Piper who said, you know, he would, and if he was in that situation, he would try to maybe shoot him in the leg or shoot him in the foot to try to, you know, harm him in a way that he doesn't die, but that he's stopped. That's that brother's opinion. I don't agree with it. Okay. My stance on that is if you break into someone's home, you have disqualified yourself from existence. Okay. If you break into somebody's home, you have given that homeowner the permission to end your life. Okay. I believe that anyone that attempts to break into somebody's home should be killed. Okay. I believe that there can be grace for a situation in which you are dealing with a man face to face, but when someone tries to enter your home as a man, you have to eliminate the threat. Okay. It is your duty, your God-given right or role as the head of that household to protect everyone who is under your headship, your wife, your children, everyone who's in the house. And if you as a man are not willing to die to protect your wife and your children, you don't deserve a wife or children. Okay. Cowardice in line with courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. These are situations that are very scary. Okay. I've been in 3 fights in my whole life, and each time it was scary. Physical fights. Okay. Courage is the man who is in the midst of his fear is able to persevere through it for the greater good of the circumstance. Okay. Let me give you an example. The difference between someone who's courageous and a coward. There's a video on YouTube of a father who is going to pick up his daughter. Okay. And his daughter looked like she was about 4 or 5 years old, just as cute as ever. She had her little backpack. She was ready to go to school. Now, as this father is walking his daughter down the steps, you can see across from the camera that's on the house, there is a neighbor across the street who can't control their dog. It looks like a big Rottweiler. And you can see the dog break off the leash and it just sprints across the street. Okay. It's coming right at the father and his daughter. The father sees the dog, screams, and runs and jumps on the car that's in the driveway, leaves his daughter to defend for herself, literally just left her. So the dad is sitting on top of the car while the little girl is literally running around the car screaming, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." And he's telling her, "Run, run, run." The dog is, at this point, the dog is just standing there. He probably just wanted to play. And this fat coward, okay, is sitting on the car while his daughter is sitting there screaming for her life, not knowing what's going to happen. Okay. I would rather die, literally die, than that be true of me. Okay. That is a worthless man. That is a man that's not worthy of a child. He would have sat there and watched as his daughter was mauled to death by that dog. Okay. This is what I mean when I talk about masculinity, being a man. And just because you are a God-fearing Christian does not mean there won't be a situation where you will have to throw hands or maybe put somebody down with a gun or a knife. Okay. I don't care how scary that situation was. Okay. That dog is not touching my daughter. Under no circumstance. If I have to die, I have to die. Okay. That's the difference between a coward and those who are courageous men. I think the pastor here was very courageous. Okay. You tell me you're going to do what to my wife? Wait. You're going to do what to my grandchildren? No, come here. No, come here. Come here. We're going to fight. Because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. With a situation where there's a threat, where there is somebody who is actively making threats, racist threats, threats of rape, murder, that person has to be dealt with. Okay, one way or another. You either have to get the police involved or you have to do something as the man so that that man gets an understanding. Because a lot of times these guys, that the guy that said that, if you watch the video of the pastor beating him up, he can't fight. He's a coward. Okay. Any man that would threaten to do harm to a woman or a child, that's a beta. That's a beta male. Okay. That's someone who can't fight. That's someone who that's a weak, pathetic boy. Okay. And if a man were to make those kind of threats at my wife or my children, you're not going to get a response from me that you probably would think a Christian would respond. Okay. This has to be addressed. I'm not just going to let that go. The police need to be notified. But if you are, especially if this person is coming forward and it's not like he's making these threats across the street. He's actually stepping to you. Okay. That changes the situation. Now, I know there are Christians that will probably disagree with me and say, oh, no, that we should always turn the cheek and be gracious and let them do what they're going to do and just, and that's fine. Okay. But this is my stance on it. And I'm not backing down from that. Okay. When I was lost, I was a fighter, I wouldn't run from a fight. Okay. Now, a lot of what I was when I was lost was very bad. I had a very bad temper. Okay. And I made a lot of mistakes. I'm not condoning fighting. I don't want to fight at all. I don't want to harm anyone. I want to live in peace with all men. I want to be a peaceful neighbor to my neighbors. Okay. But what I am as a man, you will not harm my wife. I don't have children, but if I did, you will not harm my children. Okay. And if you make a threat like that, you better be ready to back it up. It's amazing how many people in this world will make threats like that and they can't even fight. Okay. What did Mike Tyson say? He said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Okay. Just because a man is a man of God, that doesn't mean he's a coward. That doesn't mean, listen, to be a man of God, to be a biblical Christian that stands on the truth and proclaims the gospel, there is no more manlier man than that. Okay. The very nature of preaching the word of God, preaching the good news to a lost world, is going against the grain of life. You're literally going against the world. Okay. That takes courage. It takes courage to preach a gospel that God, our Lord, crucified. Okay. It takes courage to preach truth in this wicked and sinful world. So again, I say, if you as a man are not ready to defend your wife and your children with your life, you are not ready for a wife or a child. Okay. Again, we are not violent people. We should not be people that look for fights, look for situations where we can be physical. No, we should do everything in our power to avert that, to be gracious and kind, and to not have to do that. But if someone is persistent, if someone is a threat, you better deal with that threat one way or another. Okay. And so I'm grateful to see a man actually be a man. Okay. It's not just talk. Okay. That's a pastor that's going to protect his flock. So it's a good thing. So I'm glad that happened. Okay. And I hope that man that was beat up, I hope the police are really looking into this and deal with that. Okay. Because that's not play. Those are serious threats. Okay. So, I pray for this pastor. I don't know much about him. I have never heard any of his sermons. I hope he is biblical. I hope he's a man that's in line with the truth. So, yeah, that's just my piece. What are your opinions? What do you think? Do you think that the pastor was right? Let me know down in the comments.